Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever it is that you're watching. Glad that you've joined me for another ride today. This is a place where we learn life lessons, and I get to ride my motorcycle. I am so glad that you've joined me today. This is the third day of a new month, the month of March, and I tell you, I just couldn't wait to get out here on the bike. Last I checked, it was like 60 degrees outside. I'll put up the little chart so that you guys will know a little bit about the wind chill. Actually, when it starts to get around 70 degrees, I'm not going to do the chart anymore because it'll be warm then. I've got a nice jacket on and feels really good. I'm glad that you joined me today. I don't know about you, but it's been a tough winter. It's been a real tough winter, and I know we're not officially in spring, but I think we're in the, what do they call it, the meteorological spring or something like that. I don't care what they call it. It sure feels good to not see any snow and not have any temperature, in the 20s or in the teens or wind chills, stuff like that. So I'm glad that you're joining me today. I was wondering what to talk about today. A lot of things I've been considering, wanting to talk about, but I kind of zeroed in on a topic here about hardships. Now, hardships vary with each individual, okay? What you might refer to as a hardship would not be a hardship for me, and vice versa. So understand, before we actually get into this, that hardships are relative to each individual, each family, each situation, circumstance. But there's a passage in Matthew where Jesus says, this is Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And then he goes on, "Take my yoke upon you, and you will learn of me," so on and so forth. But I want to focus in on, "Come to me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." What does that mean, heavy laden? That means that you're burdened down with something, whatever it might be. I mean, pick something, right? I know we're coming out of a hard winter, and springtime's coming, and everybody's, kind of excited about spring. I'm excited about spring, but that doesn't mean that the tough stuff, the hardships, diminish. Sometimes they even get worse. So he says, "Come to me. Come to me." Whenever you're going through a thing, whatever the thing is, you and I look for someone or some place for a sense of solace, a sense of peace, a sense of comfort, reassurance, those kinds of things. He says, "Come to me." You can look for solace, you can look for peace, you can look for comfort in a lot of different things, right? Relationships, drinking, drugging, excuse me, whatever it might be. But he says, if you really want to overcome life's hardships with a sense of faith, come to me. Come to me. Let's look at that, okay? So this is going to be a two-part series. So there's going to be 6 points altogether that I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to divide it up into two different podcasts, okay? This week and next week. So first of all, I think what that verse is talking about is that we need to recognize our need for God. We need to recognize our need for God. The psalmist says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who have a crushed spirit. I love that. I absolutely love that. Notice what he says again, okay? The Lord is close to those who are brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. You ever feel crushed? Crushed in spirit. You just feel like the weight of the world is on you. Nothing makes sense. You can't solve. Nothing seems to get solved. Nothing seems to get rectified. Recognize that we have a need for God. You could try to do it on your own, and maybe you have. Maybe you've tried to do it on your own, and nothing seems to be working. Well, there's a reason for that. Okay? I've said in other podcasts, and I want to say it again here, that God is not limited by time and space like you and I are. Nope. He's not limited by time and space. He knows the past, present, and future all in one. Where he's been, we're going. Okay? Where we're going, he's already been there. He already knows what's going to happen. And so we need him. We need someone who is bigger, stronger, is not limited by time or space like we are. We need someone bigger and better and stronger than we are. Now, in our American culture, we have to admit that, sometimes, we want to be independent, right? We've got to be independent. Nobody tells me what to do. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. But sometimes situations arise where we just get worn out. I don't know about you, but I do. I was really getting tired of winter. I was really getting tired of winter. And everybody that I talked to was tired of winter. More so, it seems, this year than in previous years. Yeah, we always have the cold and snow and stuff like that, but it didn't seem to drag people down previously like it did this year. I'm not sure why that is, but it just seemed to be. So we need to recognize our need for him. Look at this now. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Now, what does that mean, he's close to the brokenhearted? Well, he's right there. He's right there. You don't have to go looking for him. He's right there. You don't have to wonder if he's going to show up. He's right there. You don't have to wonder if he cares about you. He cares about you. He's right there. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. You ever had your heart broke? And I'm not talking just romantically, breakup stuff. But maybe something or someone that you've counted on, maybe a close friend, a relative, coworker, someone who's really let you down. Yeah. That's brokenheartedness. He says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And he also says that he saves those who are crushed in spirit. That life has just beat you down. Just beat you down. And what he says is that person God is close to. So we need to recognize our need for him. Okay? That's number one. Number two, meditate on God's promises. Meditate on God's promises. There's a lot to be said for a sense of meditation. Now, you and I can't meditate with, the TV blaring and, stuff plugged into our ears. We can't meditate that way. Now, I will grant you that some music will set the tone for that and aid in that, but that in by itself is not meditation. Okay? Let's see, I think I'm going to go straight here. Meditate on his promises. Scriptures are filled with the promises of God. And, it's one thing to talk about his promises when things are going good. Yeah, okay. Well, that's one of his promises. Move on. It's a whole nother thing when we are going through hardships. And the hardship, again, it varies in levels. It varies in intensity. And it also varies in length of time. Some hardships are quickly resolved. Some take weeks. Others take longer, perhaps months, to resolve. But we need to meditate on his promises. Look at this now. Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Do not fear," God's saying, "do not fear, for I am with you. Don't be dismayed, for I am your God." Don't be afraid. From Old Testament to New Testament is just chock full of promises that begin with, "Do not be afraid." Do not be afraid. Think about that. You don't need to be afraid. You can be. Well, why don't I need to be afraid? Because God promises that He's with the brokenhearted. God promises that He's with us when our spirits are crushed. Remember now, we're talking about those who labor and are heavy laden. I will give you what? Rest. Now that doesn't mean sitting in your recliner and just relaxing doing nothing. No. That's an internal kind of rest. A rest that is contemplative and meditative, though craziness is going on around about me. Okay? Think about, for instance, Philippians chapter 4:13. Another promise. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do what? All things. All things through Christ who strengthens me. And Paul was writing that to when he was in prison. Hey, think about that for a second. Paul was writing those affirmative kind of words, those promises, even though he himself was in prison. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be dismayed, for I am your God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then third, Isaiah 55 verse 2 says, cast all your care upon him. Why? Because he cares for you. He cares for you. I want you to think about that. He cares for you. Now, the word there used in that passage is the word care is anxiety. Cast all your care on him and he will sustain you. That word sustain is he will hold you up. You know, kind of like holding somebody up so they don't drown, right? Get the picture? I mean, we could go on and on and on. But those three promises, don't be afraid, I'm with you. Don't be dismayed, for I'm your God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And cast all your care on him because he will sustain you. He'll hold you up. If we had no other promises but that, those three, if we had no other promise, listen, you can live those promises right now, today, this moment. This moment you can live those promises. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be dismayed because God is God. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength to do it. And then also, I can cast my anxiety, my cares, my worries, my frustrations on him, and he will bolster me up. He will sustain me. He'll lift me up. So, recognize, when we think about, come to me, all you that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. We recognize that God, our need for God, that's number one. Number two, meditate on his promises. Meditate on God's promises. And then number three, seek rest in God's presence. He says, in the passage that we're looking at, come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, burdened down. And what's the promise? If you will come to me, I will give you rest. It's his promise here is beyond a physical rest, right? It reaches into the very depths of our soul. It's that kind of rest. You know, it's the kind of rest that if you never go on vacation, you can still find that rest. It is a peace that, as Paul would say, it's a peace that passes all understanding. Okay? So we need to seek rest. It's not going to just happen. We need to seek rest in Him. Okay? Psalm 46:10 is one of my favorite verses in the Psalm. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. Wow. Be still. That's hard to do, right? We find that very difficult to do, particularly in our current culture, because we're not geared that way. You want to find out how difficult that is? Shut everything off. Shut your phone off. Shut all electronics off. Shut your TV off, and just sit there and be quiet. Don't say a word for half an hour, 15 minutes. It's hard to do because we're not built that way. That's not our culture. We want noise all the time. I'm very guilty of that. I always want some kind of noise in the background. You know, when I'm researching something for, you know, one of these podcasts, or getting ready, studying my lesson for my small group on Sunday morning, I need some kind of background noise. I usually plug in some kind of worship video, some kind of music that I like, plug that in, and that's going softly in the background. Find rest. It says, seek God's rest. Seek rest in God's presence. Notice what He says again in Matthew. Come to me, all you who labor, and I will give you rest. All you who labor, and I will give you rest. Okay, so those are three of our 6 that we're going to be looking at. We're going to pick it back up next week. But I trust this has been special to you. I trust that this speaks to you. And if nothing else, you've enjoyed a beautiful day and a ride with me. I've loved having you along. And we'll pick this back up, overcoming life's hardships through exercising our faith. That's what we're looking at in these 2 podcasts. Thank you for riding along with me. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of this community of life lessons as we learn from life experiences and from Scripture what God teaches us as to how we can apply those truths. God bless you. I'll see you next week right back here on the bike. Next week, we'll go through it again. God bless you. Have a good day.